Real Madrid have the individuals. The Galactico era might be coming back because Barca now have this collectiveness full of youth players that are now the cream on top of this very tasty and delicious looking cake. Don't know why you put cream on top of your cake. It's not me inside your cake, but it works.
Could be both.
Hey, depends what kind of cake and the culture. All right, in my culture, cream's at the top of the cake. Anyway, more importantly, let's talk about this game. Barca have just come off the back of beating Bayern 4-1. Madrid have beaten Dortmund 5-2. Pretty interesting for what we're going to discuss. Real Madrid come back with these brilliant individual goals, and then Barca ripped Bayern to shred with these wonderfully pieced together bits of football. Let's start with Real Madrid. That inevitability. Vinicius Jr. and Mbappe still isn't working, I don't think. But that team just seems like they're going to always win games.
Yeah, talent supersedes everything, and Real Madrid have got that in an abundance, and it often shines through, doesn't it? And there's no better manager in world football at getting a bunch of talented players and trying to get a tune out of them than Carlo Ancelotti, which is why he's perfectly suited to that job. Real Madrid's inevitability is definitely a thing, and it's something that we should talk about, and it's something that we always will end up probably going back to. But there's something in that, the fact that it was Dortmund in midweek, that made it even more inevitable than it normally would be. I was at the Arsenal game, but when I saw that Dortmund were 2-0 up, at no point did I think they were going to win the game still. And that's 50% because of who Real Madrid are, but 50% because of who Borussia Dortmund are as well. I mean, the Mbappe thing, is it really working at this moment in time? I don't think we're seeing the best of Kylian and Mbappe, but I trust that over time Carlo Ancelotti will get it right. Vinicius Jr. was the star in midweek, and no surprises really, was there?
For Barca, I think this is where it's really interesting, what you just said there. When I watched Real Madrid playing, it felt like Mbappe and Vinicius almost didn't want to pass it to each other. Like they both want to be the main man. Mbappe obviously got the assist for Rudiger's goal, which was a really nice assist actually. And when I saw that, I thought, that's a right winger. And he should just play as a right winger, like not a right winger as a left winger, but the way he created that goal, I was like, maybe that's your new role. Like you're the backup dancer to the actual official character.
Not a chance.
The things Vinicius was doing
was crazy.
And I can't see Mbappe doing that for Madrid. I don't know why. There's just, anytime he gets the ball, I think he's going, I need to do something. Whereas Vinicius is like, I just do something.
Well, Vinicius restored the feeling with that hat-trick against Borussia Dortmund. Some of those goals, man. The one where he took it from like the halfway line, just took it all the way. It's just, it was beautiful. And again, he just cemented, I think, winning the Ballon d'Or. He's been the player of the season. And he's just a player that when the lights shine brightest in his Champions League and it's midweek, Vinicius Jr. turns up. We know he scored 2 goals in Champions League finals. We know what he did last year in the Champions League throughout the knockouts and the group stages for Real Madrid. And it seems like he is their go-to guy. If you look at the last 5 Real Madrid games, they've been littered with Vinicius Jr. goals. And Mbappe has chimed in with a few goals here and there, a lot of them from the penalty spot. The Real Madridistas asking about Mbappe's effectiveness in this team. But this Real Madrid team reminds me of MSN back in the day. I remember 14-15 season, from the start of the season to about November, people seriously asking, do we blow this operation up? Do we start again because it's not working? Messi, Neymar, Suarez can't play together. And then Luis Enrique found a few tweaks, and then post-January, they were the best team in the world and they went on to win the treble under Enrique, and with that front three just playing incredibly. So I think it's a teething period for Real Madrid right now. They will figure it out. There's too much talent for them not to figure it out. But the player they are missing is Joselu, who they let go to a Qatari club. Because when he played, he provided knockdowns for Jude Bellingham, who's making those late runs into the box. Where Jude's playing a little bit deeper, he's not providing that attacking threat. And Real just seemed to lack something. They need something to get them going. It was being 2 goals down against Borussia Dortmund that got them going. But I'm not too worried about them. What will worry Real Madrid is how good Barcelona are. Barcelona are absolutely incredible.
In
one of the best
contrast
teams in
to
Europe.
the front three conversation we're having with Real Madrid, on the flip side, if you watch the Barcelona Bayern game, if you haven't, I fully recommend just go and watch the highlights of these goals because they're outrageous. You had Rafinha's individual moments, then you had him combining with Lamine Yamal, and Lewandowski was involved as well. Rafinha's arguably the best player in LaLiga this season, 5 goals, 5 assists, created 13 big chances, only 19 starts. But there is a contrast there. You have a young guy in Lamine Yamal who's happy to be, on some occasions, the main man, on other times, the provider. Then you have Rafinha, who seems to have grown into this superstar-like player for Barcelona. And then you have Lewandowski, who's happy to accommodate the other guys. How do Madrid stop that attacking lineup?
It's difficult to say because there seems to be so much cohesion in this Barcelona team right now, but they're the sum of a number of parts. And the problem with that is that when one of those parts or a couple of those parts aren't there or aren't working in the right way, the level drops completely. Whereas Real Madrid have the talent to dig themselves out of holes. They could be at 0-0 in the 91st minute, and you can look around and it could be Vinicius, it could be Mbappe, it could be Bellingham. There's so many moments players there, so many clutch players. There's good players in that Barcelona team, and they work really well as a collective. But do they have the talent level to compete with Real Madrid in the long term this season? I'm not sure yet. I'm not completely convinced by it. How do they stop them, Real Madrid? I think Real Madrid will probably sit off them a little bit. Let them play. We know what Barcelona's style is. The reason they hired Hansi Flick is because he was seen as someone that could come in and adapt to the LaLiga way, to the Barcelona way. The styles are quite similar. If I'm Real Madrid, I'm sitting off them and I'm looking to hit them on the break.
Yeah.
Barca also play this high line, which, I mean, Bayern tried to get beyond, but just couldn't get it right on numerous occasions. And that probably is because they've got Harry Kane up top, who doesn't really have the legs that maybe Mbappe, Rodrigo, Vinicius
What I will say very quickly is that if Barcelona defend against Real Madrid the way they defended against Bayern at times, they're not winning the game. Barcelona were really vulnerable at points, and Elise in particular had a lot of joy for Bayern. Other players too. They had a goal narrowly ruled out for an offside. It was really marginal. Barcelona were great going forward, but defensively there were questions to be asked.
Yeah.
That's where I wonder where this is. This a game where you say to Mbappe, Rodrigo, Vinicius, this is actually a game you can go and stay high, like stay further up, and that kind of could work in favour of Real Madrid. But in that midfield three as well, it's really interesting because I look at that Madrid midfield three of Bellingham has been playing to the right recently, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. Valverde and Camavinga, maybe Modric could be in there against Pedri, Casado and Olmo. This is that three absolute athletes against three absolute technicians. Gavi's actually back after 359 days out as well. That's another area where there's going to be an interesting battle.
It will be interesting. And Valverde, I think he's one of the most underrated players in the world, but he's been asked to do something that he's not too comfortable at doing, and that's be the tempo setter, be the volume passer, because obviously you haven't got Toni Kroos in there. And so it is a bit disjointed. Bellingham's playing a different role than he played last season. For me, I think Tchouaméni actually brings a balance to that midfield. He doesn't necessarily start as many games I think he should do for Real Madrid, but if you to bring him in there with Fede and with Jude Bellingham, that kind of makes more sense than with the Camavinga. But the midfields are so contrasting. Like you say, you've got Olmo and you've got Pedri. They're technicians and they operate in those little half spaces and they can get in behind. But then you look at Real Madrid's, the power, the physicality, which you think will come to the fore at some point, and then you combine that with Real Madrid's pacey forwards. It's going to make for an incredible football match. I just really like the look of Barcelona's front line. I like Rafinha, I like Lewandowski, and I think Lamine Yamal is the best 17-year-old football's ever seen. I think maybe if you go far enough, you talk about Pele. But in terms of my eye, Messi wasn't this good and this composed and this much of a grown-up at this age. He's incredible. And that ball he played for Rafinha for the goal where Rafinha took it on his chest, absolutely incredible. So I think Barcelona go into this game with all the confidence in the world. They know they can score goals. They've scored more goals than any team in the top 5 leagues in Europe. I think that Barcelona go into this game with the bit between the teeth and really, really bother Real Madrid.
I was saying just before we started recording that La Liga hasn't had that feeling before. It's lost that feeling where you wanted to sit in for every El Clasico game. I think this is the first time, in my opinion anyway, in recent years where I'm going, I really want to watch this game. And that is probably a good sign for La Liga, but it also speaks to the fact they've got Mbappe over there. And it's probably the first time in a while these two have been even. Real Madrid have won the last 4 fixtures, and honestly, Barcelona have just been dragging their feet through all of those. Score predictions for this one.
I'm going to go for a Real Madrid victory. I know Barcelona, the informed side. I know they're top of the table at the moment, but I fancy Real Madrid to beat them by 2-1.
I go for Barcelona. I think Rafinha, like you mentioned, is one of the best players in the Liga at the moment. He talked midweek about how the fact that they were so heavily linked with Nico Williams and the fact that Barcelona fans were printing out shirts with Nico Williams number 11, Rafinha's number. He's got that bit between the teeth. He's got the captain's armband on. I think that he drives Barcelona to an improbable victory at the Bernabeu, and they win 2-1.
I'm going to go Barca to win, and I think it's going to be 3-1, but I think they'll come back late and a last minute goal for Lamine Yamal to put the cherry on top of the cake and not the cream.